Hi, welcome to the video Creating Roles and User Domains. Previously we learned how to create custom modules. In this video we'll start by creating the pgsqladmin file and also the user rights. Then we'll see how to grant interactive shell access and generate skeleton user policy files. One of the best features of SE Linux is its ability to confine end users and only grant them the rights they need to do their job. To accomplish this, we need to create a restricted user domain that these users should use. Such user domains and roles need to be created through SE policy enhancements. These enhancements, however, require a deep understanding of the available permission checks, reference policy macros and more, which one can only obtain through experience or assistance. Still, that shouldn't prevent us from providing a working example of how to create a special end-user role and domain for the PostgreSQL administration. Let's start with creating the pgsqladmin.te file. First, let's look at the SE Linux policy file that includes our user-related rules. Each line is commented to explain why the next policy line is used. Write the command cat pgsql_admin.te. And here's how the pgsqladmin.te file looks like. This policy file can be built using the reference policy approach and loaded. With this policy loaded, the pgsqladmin.r role and pgsqladmin.t type are now available. Next, we create an SE Linux user called pgsqladmin.u that's allowed access to the staff R role for non-privileged activities, system R role for handling the PostgreSQL service, and pgsqladmin.r role for administrating the PostgreSQL files and commands. We can accomplish this with the se manage user command, which you can see here. At this point, we assume that you have mapped this to Linux users, and the Linux user is called Jane Doe. We assign the pgsqladmin.u SE Linux user to her with this line of command. Now we need to reset the contexts of the user, as the contexts of all files now need to be changed. We use restore con for this. Finally, we need to edit the sudo ers file so that every command the user launches through sudo will be with the pgsqladmin.r role and in the pgsqladmin.t domain. Now, change the directory to etc, then ls. This is the sudo ers file. Have a look at this line which I just inserted. With these changes in place, the user can now log in and handle PostgreSQL by default. Jane Doe will remain logged in through the staff R role and in the staff T domain, so that most end-user commands work. The moment a more privileged activity needs to be launched, Jane Doe has to use sudo. As the user is not in the wheel group, using su to get a root shell is not possible. Now let's see how to grant interactive shell access. Eventually, users might want to ask for shell access, either indirectly through sudo or perhaps immediately after login so that users can log in to the pgsqladmin.r role directly. This is not a problem for SE Linux. Even if that user were granted root shell, SE Linux still prevents the user from making changes or performing activities that the user is not allowed to. The most common approach to allowing interactive shell usage within an SE Linux role is to use the user DOM login user template call instead of the user DOM base user template call. If the generated role is a more privileged administrative role, it might be even better to use user DOM admin user template. By switching the template that is called in the policy file, which is pgsqladmin.te in our case, additional SE Linux rules are added that are meant for more interactive use. If we want a user to be logged in directly to the new type, a few more changes are needed. Firstly, we need to create a default context file for the SE Linux user in the etc/selinux/mcs/contexts directory. We can work from a copy and substitute staff R with pgsqladmin.r everywhere. This file will tell SE Linux what the default type should be when a login is handled through one of the mentioned contexts. Next, the mcs/default type file has to be updated to tell SE Linux that the pgsqladmin.t domain is the default type for the pgsqladmin.r role. With these changes in place, we can update the role mapping for the user to only contain pg_sql_admin r system r. And yes, don't forget to reset the contexts of the user files afterwards. Here's the command for what we discussed just now. Let's press enter. Finally, let's look into generating skeleton user policy files. The SE Linux user space utilities offer a tool that generates skeleton files for custom policies. This tool is called SE Polgen or SE Policy Generate and is provided through the Policy Core Utils devel package in RHEL. To generate a skeleton file for the pg_sql_admin role, we can use the --term_user option to generate code for interactive users. So let's execute this command. Here, the first 3 files are the same files we created earlier on. The 2 additional files allow administrators to quickly introduce the generated policies on their systems. The pg_sql_admin selinux.spec file is used to build RPM, originally named Red Hat Package Manager files, allowing administrators to deploy custom policies through their standard software lifecycle management system. The pg_sql_admin.sh script, which builds the policy, loads it on the system, generates a standard manual page for the module, updates the contexts file on the system to accommodate the new user, and finally builds the RPM package using the .spec file mentioned earlier. The use of SE Polgen or SE Policy Generate allows administrators to easily start off with a common set of policy files. The other supported user templates with SE Polgen are listed here. The first one for administrative, privileged user domains, confined admin for administrative but otherwise limited user domains, desktop user for standard end user domains, and the last one, X user for low privilege end user domains that can use the X server. That's all for this video. Nice! In this video we saw how to create roles and user domains. In the next video we'll create new application domains.